what do you think is the ideal parenting style?
I think the most important thing is teaching kids the fundamental life skills from a young age. It's a very taboo topic, especially depending on your socioeconomic status. In my personal journey, I grew up with very emotionally neglected parents.
The way you were parented matters. What's the best part in parenting that you like in North America?
I think my favorite thing about parenting in North America is that everybody has a different way of raising their kids. There's no right or wrong way. And I think it's really interesting seeing the different parenting styles. One of my favorite things to see are parents that teach their kids skills from a very young age. Obviously, age-appropriate things, like I wouldn't teach a 3-year-old kid how to use a knife. But I think the fundamental life skills that some of the parents are teaching the kids, I think is very commendable here. Whereas back home, it's a completely different mentality. Depending on the social economic status that you grew up in, either you were forced to do these against your will because you were raised in poverty, or you have everything done for you by, servants, housemaids, and things like that.
Let's talk about parenting styles across the world.
Okay.
What's your ideal parenting style? What do you think is the ideal parenting style?
I think it's really hard to say ideal because it's very subjective from person to person. But what I think is very important, just based on my lived experience and what I've learned and what I would teach onto my kids, I think the most important thing is teaching kids the fundamental life skills from a young age. So that way, when they are well into adulthood, they already have all of the necessary life skills to be able to accelerate their growth and go into that self-actualization part of the process. So teaching kids from a young age how to cook, how to clean, how to do the house chores, how to budget. I think these are all very important skills that a lot of parents don't really teach their kids. Budgeting especially, because it's a very taboo topic, especially depending on your socioeconomic status. A lot of people in the lower to upper middle class don't really talk about it. It's when you talk from the upper middle class to the high class people, that's when you start talking about money. And I think it's something that is really important to talk about, because it's better you make those mistakes when you're young than when you try to make those mistakes later on when you have a family, when you have a mortgage, when you have car payments.
The way you were parented matters. Because in some parenting ways, you make a child feel that the inferiority. Right? When you compare with, in every stage of life, you compare the child, then I think it matters then how your adulthood is going to be.
Absolutely, yeah. But my whole thing is to not use your parents to become the victim of your own story, because in my personal journey, I grew up with very emotionally neglected parents because they were very busy working and taking care of us, especially as new immigrants growing up in poverty. They wanted to make sure that me and my brother had a better life here in Canada. So I can't blame them for being emotionally negligent in that regard. However, growing up, I loved to use that as an excuse for why I was the way that I was. Now, as an adult, obviously, I can't do that anymore. I could if I wanted to, no doubt about it, because it's so easy for us to blame people for being the problem as opposed to taking ownership and changing ourselves. And I think in the process of changing myself and understanding that my parents did the best that they could, now as an adult, it's my responsibility to improve myself and make sure that when I'm interacting with other people, that my parents aren't affecting me, which is then affecting my relationships with others.
Again, it comes down to the self-realization
Yes,
of things.
Exactly.
That you need to realize that no other one is the problem. The problem is within you.
Correct. And I think it's really hard for people to realize that, because it's easy to say, oh, you're the problem, they're the problem, it's not me. But it's hard for you because it's a hit to our pride, it's a hit to our ego to say, oh, the common denominator of why all my relationships didn't work is me. But there's something liberating in that process, because when you admit that you're the problem, you also realize that you're the solution.